I want to lead you guys through a code that I've been doing for about a year now, and it's been unfolding in some pretty crazy ways. But if you stick with me, I promise I'm going to reveal something very interesting. So in my algorithm this morning, I saw a picture of Mary Todd Lincoln, and it sparked some codes that I had seen before on the algorithm amongst people who share them here on TikTok. Mary Todd Lincoln has a birthday of December 13th, like Taylor Swift. In Taylor Swift's Fortnite music video, she embodies almost an identical dress to Mary Todd Lincoln. Usually when people are channeling the energy, even if they're under mind control programming, it's because there's a message that's trying to be conveyed here. The music video Fortnite was all about Taylor Swift trying to reconnect with a past lover, played by Post Malone. I'm going to preface with a few facts so we can start weaving the story together. Mary Todd Lincoln was married to Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States. Abraham Lincoln is well known for signing the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863. Now, the first of the year is always pretty important when it comes to code. January 1st also happens to be the birthday of Ice Spice, aka Isis Gaston, who was also in a music video with Taylor Swift called Karma, to which she speaks about being in a relationship with someone who's like her polar opposite. Now, in the music video, of course, you have Post Malone. Post Malone has a birthday of July 4th, also known as Independence Day. And I found it a little bit interesting that there are storylines about some sort of freedom. Ice Spice also gets her name from the goddess Isis, the wife and consort of the god Osiris. So, weaving back with the codes a little bit, Abraham Lincoln died on April 15th, 1865. He shares a death date with the birth date of Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci is very well known for his painting during the Renaissance period called The Last Supper. The Last Supper is shown in the movie The Book of Clarence, as a down-on-his-luck man struggles to find a better life for his family while fighting to free himself of debt. Captivated by the power and the glory of the rising Messiah, he risked everything. The Book of Clarence is listed as being 2 hours long and 9 minutes. And I find this very interesting because Super Bowl 59 next year is on Sunday, February 9th, 2-9. Now, the Book of Clarence was produced by Jay-Z. Keep that fact in mind. Jay-Z is known for a song called The Holy Grail, which also came out on July 4th, Independence Day, as a part of his album Magna Carta, Holy Grail. Since we were just talking about Leonardo da Vinci, this took me right into the film The Da Vinci Code, which is all about a search for the Holy Grail, which is a secret cabal within Opus Dei, a prelature of the Holy See, aka the Vatican, who wish to keep the true Grail a secret to prevent the destruction of Christianity. I also want you to note that the word is also a form of the word Grail, which means royal blood. The whole movie The Da Vinci Code is about the royal bloodline of Christ being hidden by the Vatican. Now, this takes me back to the Jay-Z Holy Grail video. In the music video, the producer Rick Rubin is featured. He didn't actually work on the album, but they made a note to show him specifically. And I thought this was interesting because I did a code not too long ago where I did a side-by-side of Rick Rubin and Leonardo da Vinci and thought that he looked awful familiar. Maybe a doppelganger, maybe a reincarnation. But it was starting to connect the story for me as to why the Holy Grail is so important and why so many people would try to hide it. It's about the freedom of the Christ bloodline. And so, taking it back to the beginning, you're wondering, what does Taylor Swift have to do with all of this? It is a very intricate story that I'm going to do my best to lay out through facts and details. What you do with it is completely up to you. Taylor Swift has been the talk of the town this year, especially with her album The Tortured Poets Department. Through her music videos, she weaves a story of consciousness, losing it and then regaining it again to connect with the past lover. In the music video, she features Ethan Hawke of the Tortured Poets Department. Now, when I see symbolism, I try to piece things together to see if there's something being told here. Seeing Ethan Hawke kind of sparked my memory because I thought of the singer Aaliyah and how she donned a hawk in her video, Are You That Somebody? Aaliyah's been mentioned a lot when it comes to her relationship to the music and the entertainment industry. And I couldn't help but note that the stories of Queen Akasha and Taylor Swift in her story Fortnite seem to paint a familiar story. Taylor Swift losing her memory and going under mind control. Aaliyah as Akasha, in the end being sacrificed by her own people for power and control. Many people have tried to latch on to that energy that Aaliyah carried. And I made one specific connection, and that was of Tiana Taylor dressing up as her for Halloween. Tiana Taylor just so happens to play Mary Magdalene in the Book of Clarence. And going back to the story, Sophie Naveau is the person who is the blood descendant of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. And so it's interesting that they picked Tiana Taylor to play this role. Tiana also happens to be the name of the first Black American Disney princess in the movie The Princess and the Frog. That's a movie based in New Orleans, Louisiana. the same location of the Super Bowl. Now, many times I've already spoken about Kendrick Lamar and embodying this Christ consciousness character, kind of playing out the storyline. And if you're wondering how New Orleans is connected, through the Louisiana Purchase, the land that you know as New Orleans, which once belonged to the Wachita tribe, eventually became conquered by the French and the Spanish. And in doing so, an entire population was probably kept from knowing who they were. But the stories are re-embodied over and over again because time has no ending or beginning. And so I thought about what the Super Bowl actually means. A large gathering of people, a spectacle, if you will, to induce a familiar pattern, a familiar energy that's already happened. Now, Taylor Swift just so happened to be the star of the Super Bowl last year in Las Vegas, Nevada, and she was rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs. And here she is pictured like she's in The Wizard of Oz. Now, I've shown in a previous code how New Orleans has a radio station called WWOZ with a call sign meaning the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The first air date was December 4th, 43 years ago. December 4th also happens to be the birthday of Jay-Z, the owner of Rock Nation, the person who's kind of orchestrating the giant event in coherence with the NFL. Now, beginning to weave this story together is why it's so important to show you who's who. The same exact ideas as the Book of Clarence. Someone posing as the Messiah, being offered up as a sacrifice. The reign and control of the Holy Roman Empire and those connected to it. The secrecy behind Mary Magdalene and her true identity. And how so many people, places, things, songs, movies, and how so many people, places, things, movies, and media factor into this larger storyline. The freedom of the Christ bloodline and those who have been entrapped by the Holy See. I want you to remember a lot of this began this year that goes back to a much more ancient time just being played out through a modern day view. So what am I saying here? Confidently, I say that the bloodline of Jesus Christ still exists. Confidently, I say the womb of Mary Magdalene resides in one particular woman, and there's one particular person looking right now to become the Fisher King, aka King Arthur, the one who achieves the Holy Grail, pulling the sword from the stone. Confidently, I tell you there is a mass amount of programming on keeping you from understanding, knowing, or even processing this information and what it could mean for the entire world. And if you don't believe anything that I'm saying at all, I want you to remember one particular thing happened this year. On May 8, 2024, the Vatican released a statement saying prepare guidelines for apparitions and other supernatural phenomena. Apparitions are appearances or communication with divine beings such as saints, angels, or Christ himself. I want you to remember that everything is given to you in plain sight. And that's because that is karmic law. People have to tell you what they're doing to you, even if you don't realize what's happening. I want you to understand that there is a long history to the supernatural beings that you know of, but often see fictionalized in media. I also want you to know, and I say this very bravely because I have denounced religion for a good amount of my life following my own spiritual path, that I do believe that Jesus Christ actually exists. But that's not his only name, and that's not his only form. There have been many names, there have been many experiences, and there have been many times in which this being has existed. And in order to feed anything into anyone's mind, you have to give them two truths and a lie. But you have to first determine the liar, then you have to determine the lie. And in that, you'll find where true freedom actually exists, through the union of Christ and Magdalene and their royal bloodline, who exist all over the world. If you enjoy this code, like for part 2. If you're interested in booking a birthday decode with me, check out my website, tailoredhealingcollective.com, for more hidden occult decodes.